हरे कृष्ण। मज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। Hare Krishna. So we'll continue the discussion on what Prabhupada is trying to share in this regard of what the living entity is praying in the womb. So the living entity says, therefore, my Lord, although I am living in a terrible condition, I do not wish to depart from my mother's abdomen to fall again into the blind will of materialistic life. Your external energy called Deva Maya at once captures the newly born child and immediately false identification, which is the beginning of cycle of continual birth and death begins. And then for this, Prabhupada explains how this false ego is the cause, and we have discussed also the motivation for work. One of the most important factor, one is trigger, one is the accessibility. Then we discussed it is the motivation, and then we have the investment, and the last thing is false ego. So these are the five factors for any activity. And now, when the child comes into the womb, so I'll write, this is actually what happens. The ego, as soon as the ego is the most important of all, which outside psychologists they don't understand this one factor, which we understand trigger, and then there is accessibility, there is motivation, there is investment, and the most important thing is ego. So this is actually where the problem comes for all of us, that we start identifying with certain things and then we start behaving in a particular way. If this is changed, then everything is changed. So this we have discussed. So as soon as a child is within the womb of mother, he's very precarious and horrible condition of life. But the benefit is that he revives pure consciousness of his relationship with Supreme Lord and prays for deliverance. So in some cases it is happening, but once he's outside the abdomen, when the child is born, Maya or illusion energy is so strong that he immediately overpowered into considering his body to be self. So this is the where the problem starts. And we are all caught up with this identification only. We all identify ourselves with the body. And then we start working with this Maya or illusion or that which is actually not. In the material world, everybody is identifying with the body. This false egoistic consciousness of I am this body at once develops after the child comes out of the womb. The mother and other relatives are awaiting the child, and as soon as he is born, the mother feeds him and everybody takes care of him. And then he soon forgets his relationship with the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada's right, real knowledge means to develop the consciousness of I am not this body, I am spirit soul. This is real knowledge, which is not available now. Real knowledge means in any of the universities, any of this academic curriculums. And why we have to distribute so many Bhagavad Gitas in this month is because of this reason. Because this knowledge is not given to anyone. What happened is all these people are in bodily consciousness and they are working on that and they are propagating that. Only very, very few, when acharyas come, people get enlightened and then they start working. Oh, I am not the body, I am spirit soul. So let me do something for the spirit soul. That is very rare, especially in Kali Yuga. And then he gives the example of how Surya Goswami he remained in the womb for 16 years. Mm. And then only by Krishna's mercy we can come out. Right? We have discussed this. Tasmadaham vigata viklava uddarishya atmanamasutamasa सुहृदात्मनैव भूयो यतावयसनं येतद् अनेकरन्ध्रं मामे भविष्यत् उपसादित विष्णुपाद. Therefore, without being agitated anymore, I shall deliver myself from the darkness of nescience with the help of my friend, clear consciousness. So, this when Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita that the mind is Manayeva Manushyanam Karanam Mandamokshanam. Mind is our best friend, mind is our enemy. When the consciousness is clear in the mind, it is our best friend. What we have to achieve in the end of life is not how much property or how many, how many millions of followers or how much of name and fame or whatever. That all not going to work. How we have successfully made our family with nice children, grandchildren, that won't work only. What is the real friend and what is real success is, if we have cleared our consciousness, then no matter we may be a big disaster materially, spiritually we are great success. In one way, Prabhupada's life is also a disaster. For him, the family life didn't work only. He has to leave his family, took sannyas, spiritually successful, and everything is success. His children and all, he could not do much because it didn't work for him. It's like a disaster. And it happens for many people. And whoever is taking sannyas means he already left it. It didn't work for him. Prabhupada, he lost his business, he has to leave his family. And it happens to many, many people like that. And uh, like for Purandar Das, he is so successful business person. He was called Navakoti Nayak. He is a billionaire Nayaka. But he was so stingy, so stingy. One time he got a dream. In the dream, he saw his wife is giving some charity of his hard earned money. And as soon as he woke up, he asked her, "Did you do it? Did you do it?" And she said, "My Lord, I don't do anything. I did not do anything. I did not give any charity or nothing. Without your permission, how will I do?" But still, because he got that nightmare, for 3 days he fasted. Can you imagine? 3 days he fasted because he got a dream. In the dream, his wife gave some charity. And then after that, Lord comes for 6 months every day to for asking charity. He comes as a Brahmana boy saying that, "Please give me some charity. I want to do Upanayan for my son." And after 6 months, he gives one coin with which you cannot purchase even a banana leaf. He says, I gave my thing, you get away. No, the point is he was so rich, Navakoti Nayak and so rich everything. And after 6 months, then when he understands, because of some reasons, he understood some miracle happens. I will not take the story, you all know it. But what happens is he left everything and just left. He went, he goes to Udupi, here, there. All the property leaves. And I said, "Hey, what are you doing? All your money, property?" He said, "No, no, no. Now I don't need anymore. Lord came for me for 6 months every day to take to him. Why I need all these things?" After that, he writes lakhs of songs. Every day he was writing, writing, writing. So many famous songs of Purandar Das, lakhs of songs. How means he and his wife both left with all his things. That is materially it's a disaster, He didn't get anything. He left everything. But spiritually, that is the point. Art is that pure consciousness. Clear consciousness is our friend. Many people have many things, but only one thing they don't have is clear consciousness. Because of this, they keep on trying material things. No matter how much we try material things, if consciousness is not clear, it will never be satisfying. I may have big house, two big houses, two big cars, four cars, children all settled in America, and grandchildren, and everybody loves you, everybody takes care of you, health is also very nice, still a person can be 100% unhappy because consciousness is not clear. So at the end of life, if you are able to focus, when we sit, our mind is completely focused on Krishna, then we can say, yes, I made it. Otherwise, externally I can show, I know I did big thing, I did this, I did things. I know when I died, it came in newspaper and thousands of people came. It's all best. This is the point. Our friend is clear consciousness. Only one friend we have to make. We may not have any friends. It does not matter much. This one friend is needed. Simply by keeping the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu in my mind, I shall be saved from entering into the wombs of many mothers for repeated birth and death. This punishment can be saved. And Prabhupada says, the miseries of material existence begins from the very day when the spirit souls take shelter in the womb and sperm of the mother and father. They continue after he is born from the womb, and then they are further prolonged. We do not know where the suffering ends. It does not end, however, by once changing his body. The change of body is taking place at every moment, but that does not mean that we are improving from the fatal condition of life to a more comfortable condition. The best thing is therefore to develop Krishna consciousness. So, this is the point Prabhupada is telling. So we do not know where the suffering ends. It does not end, however, by once changing his body. The change of body is taking place at every moment. But that does not mean that we are improving from the fatal condition of life to a more comfortable condition. It is not like that. We are in the material world only, one prison cell to another prison cell. Here it is stated Upasadita Vishnupada. This means realization of Krishna consciousness. One who is intelligent by the grace of Lord and develops Krishna consciousness is successful in his life simply by keeping himself Krishna conscious. He will save from the repetition of birth and death. What does it mean if you are getting a good birth? Say, if I got a birth of a billionaire, no, Elon Musk is a very famous billionaire now. Now, even if I get, it is also condemned according to this. Because what Prabhupada is telling, oh, I am changing the body. Changing body taking place at every, but does not mean we are improving from the fatal condition of life to a more. So it is not at all any birth in this mental world, even billionaire is also considered abominable only. Even a birth as a demigod is also abominable. Because what is important is Krishna consciousness is important. Anything in material world is. The child prays that it is better to remain within the womb of darkness and be constantly absorbed in Krishna consciousness than to get out and again fall a victim to the illusory energy. That should be our faith. Like Prabhupada went to America, he was not mesmerized. He did not appreciate such a big buildings. Means he appreciated, but he did not get allured. Oh, such a nice building, such a nice car, such a nice comfort. He actually liked Mayapur, where he is staying in some hut. After all preaching and all success, he is staying in Mayapur in a hut and is taking his lota in the morning to into the fields to clear his stomach. And he was like, "Arey, you have a flush toilet in your even though in that time in the West there are flush toilets and running water. You have so many other cars and nice facilities." But Prabhupada was happy in Mayapur. Why? Because he's Krishna conscious. That is the point. When we are Krishna conscious, that is the most important thing. We should not feel appreciation for all this success. Why people news night is all filled with celebrities, with the politicians who are powerful, with film actors and other celebrities, top business people, everybody want to follow them. Follow in the sense what they are doing, what they are eating, what they are wearing, what they are speaking. But we should not be impressed by it. We should be impressed by what Rupa Goswami is telling, what Jiva Goswami is telling, what our Acharya is telling. Wherever we are, whom we are to follow, we should appreciate them. We should every day we should have one max. That's a Bhaksiddhanta had a daily max. Sajjan Toshni. Every day you have to hear what. Oh, today something from Jiva Goswami. Today something from Rupa Goswami. Today something from Baldev Vidyabhushan. We should be more eager for this news. Of course, we are all everyday morning instead of newspaper. We are opening Bhagavatam class. That is good. But that should be the point. We should not be impressed by any of these things. And here the child is praying, oh, better to remain within the womb of darkness and be constantly absorbed in Krishna conscious than to get out and again fall a victim of illusion. The illusion acts within the abdomen as well as outside the abdomen. But the trick is that one should remain Krishna conscious. So this is the point. And then the effect of such horrible conditions cannot be unfavorable upon him. It is said Bhagavad Gita that one's intelligence is his friend and the same intelligence can be his enemy. So that is the same point. So, and the same idea is repeated. Suhurdatmanaiva, the friendly intelligence. Now the important point is absorption of intelligence in the personal service of Krishna and full Krishna consciousness and full consciousness of Krishna always are path of self-realization and liberation. Without being unnecessarily agitated, if we take to the process of Krishna consciousness by constantly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, the cycle of birth that death can be stopped for good. Even as a birth of billionaire can be stopped. We will not get a birth as a billionaire also because this is also, according to this standard, it is also an abominable birth only. Why it is abominable? Because the mind is not absorbed in Krishna. Anything, any position in this material world, very successful people, even the Prime Minister of India, because his mind is not absorbed in Krishna, we can understand that he cannot be happy. He may be doing some good activities, but his mind is not absorbed in Krishna. So, what is the point? He is wasting his life. He may end up in heavenly planets, but that's a waste of time. He may not become devotee. And sometimes some people end up in heaven, and then after some time, then they go to hell because this is no, this is the cycle. Sometimes we are in heavenly planets, sometimes in hellish planets. So same personality. He did very, very good activities, ended up in heaven. And then he comes back to the earth. Again, he'll get some association and he may end up in hell. Brahmatam yat uparedah. Tan labhyate dukkhavat anyat sukham. So this Brahmatam uparedah is always there. Up and down, up and down. It may be questioned herein how the child can be fully Krishna conscious within the womb of mother without any paraphernalia with which to execute Krishna conscious. It is not necessary to arrange for paraphernalia to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. The child wants to remain within the abdomen of his mother and at the same time wants to become free from the clutch of Maya. One does not need any material arrangement to cultivate Krishna consciousness. One can cultivate Krishna consciousness anywhere and everywhere, provided you can always think of Krishna. The Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, can be chanted even within the abdomen of one's mother. One can chant while sleeping, while working, while imprisoned in the home, or while outside. This Krishna conscious cannot be checked in any circumstances. The conclusion of child's prayer is, let me remain in this condition, although it is very miserable. It is better not to fall a victim to Maya again by going outside. Like Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj used to go to public toilets. That means the fields where people go for clearing their stomach. used to go there and sit and chant. And why? Because people don't come to that area. He says, now he said, why he has to sit? He can just be in some nice, serene environment under the bank of Ganges or some under nice trees. Why is sitting there? Because so many people used to come to him for asking for blessings whole day. That time there is no appointment, you don't have any secretary, or don't have any closed room where you can lock and people have to wait outside. No, he's just sitting, and anytime anybody feels any distress or anything in that area, immediately चलो बाबा जी के पास जाएंगे, बाबा जी, बेटी की शादी नहीं, daughter's marriage, and then they have some problem with the finance problem or some other problem. Of course, they don't have much uh, marital problems that time. Things were quite simple, but they definitely had problem with marriage, finance, and some other diseases. And they know we just have to go to Babaji and ask for blessings. But he didn't appreciate it. He said, this is a disturbance. Then he decided to go to stay in this fields where people pass stool so that nobody will come there. It's such a now when we say Array, he is such a he can be in a comfortable place, right? Why is staying in such a place? Because he want to be more Krishna conscious. He don't want to get disturbed. And similarly, this child, this living entity in the womb of mother, he is also not in a very good place. It's an abominable means, of course, it's all pus. There is urine and stool in the womb, and he's there. It's not very comfortable. But why it is comfortable for him? Because he is Krishna conscious. So that is the main task. Like devotees who were in Russia, former Soviet Union, that they were kept in prison. And then they said that they were very Krishna conscious that time. They didn't had anything. The whole day they were chanting, whole day they were practicing Krishna consciousness. No, nothing to do outside. They're caught up in some place. So when they came out, and then they said they made more advancement in the prison than outside. So the distractions are there from Maya, and Maya is there outside. Before internet, things were very easy in people's life. After the internet came, people became very miserable. Now we'll see what Kapila is telling. Evam kritam atir garbhe dashamasyastuvan rishi satyakshipat avachinam prasutyai shruti. Lord Kapila continued, the 10-month-old living entity has these desires even while in the womb. But while he thus extolled the Lord, the wind that helps perpetuation propelled him from with his face turned downwards so that he may be born. तेनावसष्टसहसा कृतवाक्सिर आतुर विनिष्क्रामति कृच्छ्रेण निरुच्य वासो अतः स्मृति. Pushed downwards all of a sudden by the wind, the child comes out with great trouble, head toward downwards, breathless and deprived of memory due to severe agony. The word Krichrena means with great difficulty. When the child comes out of the abdomen through the narrow passage due to pressure, there the breathing system completely stops, and due to agony, the child loses his memory. Sometimes the trouble is so severe that the child comes out dead or almost dead. One can imagine what the pangs of birth are like. The child remains for 10 months in that horrible condition within the abdomen, and at the end of 10 months, he is forcibly pushed out. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord points out that a person who is serious about advancement in spiritual consciousness would always consider the four pangs of birth, death, disease, and old age. The materialistic advances in many ways, but he is unable to stop these four principles of suffering inherent in material existence. And then next is Patito hu ashun mrishra vishta bhuri iva cheshtate ro yati gate jnane viparitam gatim gataha. The child thus falls on the ground, smeared with stool and blood, and prays just like a worm just from the stool. He loses his superior knowledge and cries under the spell of Maya. Actually, he is also getting something, so his own urine and stool will also be there. Very, we all went through the situations. We don't remember, fortunately. Parachandham na vidusha पुष्यमानो जने सह नभिप्रेतम् आपन्न प्रत्याख्यातुम् अनीश्वरः. After coming out of the abdomen, the child is given to the care of persons who are unable to understand what he wants, and thus he is nursed by such persons. Unable to refuse whatever is given to him, he falls into undesirable circumstances. This is the torture. You cannot say, and interesting, there is no language, but the desire is there for the child. Within the abdomen of mother, the nourishment of child was being carried on by nature's own arrangement. The atmosphere within the abdomen was not at all pleasing. But as far as child's feeding was concerned, he was being properly done by the laws of nature. It was properly be done. But upon coming out, he falls in different situations. He want to eat one thing, but sometimes something else is given to him because no one knows his actual demand. And he cannot refuse the undesirable given to him. Sometimes the child cries for mother's breast milk, but because the nurse thinks that he is due to pain within his stomach that he is crying, she supplies him some bitter medicine. The child does not want it, but he cannot refuse it. He is put in a very awkward circumstances and suffering continues. शायितो शुचिप्रयङ्के जन्तुः स्वेदजदूषिते नेशः कण्डूयने ज्ञानम् आसन्नोत्तानं चेष्टने. Lay down on a foul bed instead infested with sweat and germs, the poor child is incapable of scratching his body to get relief from his itching sensation, to say nothing of sitting up, standing, or even moving. I cannot, it is so itching comes, it's so irritating. You have to scratch. But the child is crying because he's getting itching, and mother thinks he is hungry and now she feeds or whatever. It should be noted that the child is born crying and suffering. After birth, the same suffering continues, and he cries because he is disturbed by the germs in his foul bed, which is contaminated by his urine and stool. The poor child continues to cry, he is unable to take any remedial measures for his relief. Very, very, very painful. We all went through it, and and again we had to go through it. It's again such a painful, and we don't know what circumstances will be next life. If we're not going back to Godhead, all these things are going to happen to us again, and eh, it's very painful. Now we may not know it because we may not be able to remember all these things, but it is going to happen like this one. तुण्ड्यन् आत्मवचः दंशा मशकामतुकुण्णादयः रुदन्तं विगतज्ञानं क्रमयः क्रमिकं यथा. In his helpless condition, Giants, mosquitoes, bugs, and other germs bite the baby, whose skin is tender, just as smaller worms bite a big worm. The child, deprived of his wisdom, cries bitterly. The word Vigata Jnanam means that the spiritual knowledge which the child develops in the abdomen is already lost by the spell of Maya. At least he has some realization. He may not be able to pray completely like this child in this womb, but everybody has some realization. Like normally, also, if somebody is little pious, if he goes through some difficulty, we discuss this also. He has this tendency to recollect, oh, I did this mistake because of this is happening. I did this mistake because of this is happening. Normally, people they say these things if they are pious. But what happens when the situation change, when everything goes nicely in his life? That time they remember Lord also. Normal outside people also, if they are in trouble, they come to temple. They they come to meet sadhus also, and they will do chanting also. But once things settle in life, forget about Lord, forget about everything is gone. They are so much busy. They say, Prabhuji, no time. We'll see later. And same thing happens. The spell of Maya, if we are in a comfortable situation, it is first thing we do is forget about Lord. Owing to various kinds of disturbances and to begin out of the and to being out of the abdomen, the child cannot remember what he was thinking of for his salvation. It is assumed that even if a person acquires some spiritual uplifting knowledge, circumstantially is prone to forget it. Not only children, but also elders should be very careful to protect their sense of Krishna consciousness and avoid unfavorable circumstances so that they may not forget their prime duty. So this is what Prabhupada is telling. It's not only children, we are telling. It is not only children, even we are also prone. We also forget. That's why we should be careful. And we should not allow Krishna to give us very unfavorable situations, very troubles, to remind us of our prime duty. Like if we are sleeping, then Krishna will give a slap, like the pastime of Muchkunda. Muchkunda Maharaj was sleeping peacefully. He fought for demigods. Then the is what do you want? He said, I did so much hard work, let me sleep. And then Krishna, he takes Kalevana, he walks and Kalevana is running and he enters into the cave of Muchkunda. And Kalevana thinks that Krishna is sleeping and he comes and gives a big kick and Kalevana wakes up. Similarly, Krishna has to arrange some Kalavana in our life who will kick us so that we wake into Krishna consciousness. And then Muchkunda gets darshan of Krishna. We should not make such situation happen to us. We are in the womb, we are conscious. By hearing what we did in the womb, again we should be conscious of Krishna and start praying to him. Rather than waiting for him to give a big kick, arranging some kick through some Kalayavana. Kalayavanas are the troubles which are going to come to us. And nobody is exempted from troubles. Even Prabhupada had so much. You know, first thing is after his business collapsed, then his family didn't support. He didn't had money to even purchase proper dhoti kurta also. Can you imagine? And he stayed in Vrindavan and he was traveling to Delhi to print and then America he went to he's getting heart attacks. And after establishing ISKCON also not that problem solved. So many different problems came. Why problems come to tell us if pure devotee is getting, you are also going to get. So all the best. And you be in a wakeful situation. If you are sleeping, it hurts more. If you are awake, it is not going to hurt so much. So there is a difference. If you are conscious, when some problem is coming, we will be able to handle it. We understand, okay, this is going to happen. If I am unconscious and then problem comes, it's very disastrous. Okay, I will take this also. Any questions, comments? Okay, we'll end here. Thank you all very much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. Srila Prabhupada.